Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Monday, April the 7th. The year's 2025. Let's talk trading, weekly open and gap. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. And a friendly reminder, risk management, never lose more than you're willing to lose on any one single trade or session. So let's jump right in, take a look at the weekly. We can see that the pound had gapped down, filled the gap, turned right around, and we're now 33 pips below the open, 134 off the high, and 15 off the low. Earlier today, I was talking with Walmart, and I was saying what the looked like what the pound was going to do. I was kind of kicking myself because yesterday I opened up the chart just to look, and I saw it. There was a big gap down, but the spread was something like 15 or so pips. But I thought, you know what, Launchpad, the old 40 to 60, and sure enough, it would have paid off and then some. But that's one of those woulda, coulda, shouldas, and we've talked about those before. If we take a quick look at the monthly, we're 115 pips below the monthly open, 406, 407 off the high, 13 off the low. And we're putting in the opening range for the day. As you can see, we broke through the opening range for the month way up at 128.79. We actually had turned the month positive. You can see here it crossed above the monthly open at 29.13, but fell back below it. We're now 115 pips below that. So, these horizontal lines, there's just something to be said about trading them. But then one of my trading buddies, he's gone over to the dark side. So if you're listening, Mr. Squiggles, a shout out to you. I was teasing him because he's been using a squiggly line on his chart. But hey, you know what? It's all in good fun that I, say those things, because if I had to, if a gun to my head, I could trade with a squiggly line. It's just I prefer horizontal lines because they don't change when you change the chart time frames. You can see here we're taking a look at the inside bar. Not much inside bar action. And what that means is volatility. It's something that, we really don't mention about that. But if there's no inside bar action, that means price is just moving. You can see here, we actually moved into that daily inside bar range from 6 days ago. We actually hit a high of 29.34 today. So it was right around that psychological 29.25 line, and you can see what's happened since then. Price just fell right out of that inside bar range and kept going. Once again, horizontal lines. And you can see here the range on the day is pretty spectacular. You can see it looks like the dollar's gaining strength here, with the exception against the dollar Canadian. But we have just got huge movers. The only the only range not above 100 is the euro pound. That is just unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen it lit up like that before. And if any of the stock traders just happen to be tuning in, I looked up at the 10 worst days in the stock market on a percentage basis. We're not even close. I mean, if you think about it, back when I started trading, I think Dow 100 was was like somewhere off in the future, or it was just moving right around the 100, and that would be back in 1977, 78 time frame. And then Dow 1000. I mean, there was books written about that. And then since then, Dow 10,000, Dow 20,000. One of those, oh man, I wish I would have just bought, you know, 1,000 shares of the index way back then for $100 or 10. That would have just been a nice little pile. Actually, would have had to buy more than that, maybe 10,000. Then I could have gotten a Lambo, right? But back to the Forex, you can see here there's a lot of movement across the weekly open right here. In fact, Walmart got in short on that trade, and it was sitting right around the 50 line, or not the 50 line, but it was sitting around the 25 psychological. And I was saying, does it want the double O or does it want the 50? And I said, I think it wants the double O, and it'll do the 90, the double O, 95, 90, 85. Well, that's pretty much what it did. It just came down, hit those areas, bounced, 3, 4, 5 pips, and then continued on its way. Green rats, get ready to feast. Range is definitely large enough. And you can see here, we're moving. We've got an interesting 30 or 15-minute candle here. You can see it made a lower low. But it had a higher, or it closed above that open right here. And then you can see here, it's making higher lows. And it looks like it wants to try and go up. You see you had the smart rack trigger at 01. You'd be up about 6, 7 pips right now. But you can see here, it's kind of making lower highs. H4 is red, everything below it's green. And Walmart was telling me he doesn't, like to use the multimeters. Guess it's too distracting. For me, it's just a quick look up, and it usually tells me what I need to know. And right there, boom. So you can see it's definitely having problems here. And that's once again why you take your profit when you can, because that smart rat trade would have paid off 5 or 6 pips. But if you didn't, if you were trying to get greedy, this is what happens. Let's take a look here. Bambino Flex Indicator said to be short. Pivot Trading Plan said price at or near the pivot short. Well, we got kind of near the pivot, up at 29.52. But you can see here, it's just been falling. And if you look left here on the H4 chart, you can see here it fell out of that wick zone area right here. And it's just going down, down, down. Oh, the other key thing, let's see, let's look at the daily chart again. You can see here it broke out of that lower wick zone on the daily right there. So it broke it out to the north side, turned right around, and here we go to the south side. But we've got a nice pivot miss here in April. That's probably going to sit there for a while, I would imagine. But it looks like we might take out this pivot from 23 days ago, which Yeah, the 127.58 pivot right here. On the weekly, we missed the weekly pivot, but we have taken out the monthly now. And once again, in and out of that lower wick zone, horizontal lines. And you know, the thing about the squigglies, like I said, you can trade them. Um, but the problem is, it's that to me, it gets you in the trade too late, whereas horizontal line gets you in much quicker. Smart range so far, 148 pips on the week at the 41 percentile. 2 weeks ago we were at the 8, so at least looks like got some motion here. There's a previous midpoint that hasn't been taken out right there. Let's see. High minus previous high, no, but we did break out of that low by 73 pips right now. High minus close, 155, close minus low 1. So we're making new lows. Looks like we want the 75. High minus open, 100, open minus low, 57. Once again, trading that weekly crossover, profitable. It looks like we broke out of the previous H1 low right now, 3 pips. So you see here these diamonds, that's the EMA 5, which is indicator 2. The only difference is that it just changes color. So if you close above, you get an aqua. If you close below, you get a magenta. So that, in essence, is a squiggly. And it's something that I used to use a lot. But let me just show you what I'm talking about. So you see here, this is where you would get in on on this indicator right here. But this is where, if you were using a flip-flop box, you'd be in before it. Much better price. If you were trading out of wick zones, you'd be in it at a much better price. So once again, just simple horizontal lines. For example, right here, this is where you would get in the trade right there at the 25 when it closed. And you see here, there was some pain to experience. Whereas if you took the trade here on the flip-flop box, or if you took a trade here out of that wick zone, even on M1, or the H1 high, or the daily open, all valid trades. Even on the 1-minute chart, trading with candle color at the line, you see you get in much quicker. Now, thing about the the EMA 5, it gets you in, and if you can ride it, it works nicely. Some people like to use it, say, on a 5-minute chart, because then you usually don't get chopped up as much, but the same things hold true. So, fellow traders, that just about wraps it up for the fastest 15 minutes in trading. If you have any questions, let me know. And I hope you all had a fun and safe weekend. And I want you to always remember and never forget, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.